Hello, I'm John. I've got a book haul for you today. I haven't been doing very many book haul videos over the past few months. I have developed a sort of ambivalence about actually doing them, which is kind of frustrating because I really like watching other people's book haul videos. I only really buy used books. I couldn't tell you the last time I bought a new book, so the books I buy are pretty cheap. But the trouble with that is that I sometimes buy them in abundance, and I'm not reading any faster, but I read quite a bit. I read more than most people do in a year, um, but I still have something like a 5 year supply. uh, but anyway, I just thought that I would do this, and it's just another way, really, also of helping me stay in the habit of making videos and being comfortable in front of the camera because I do notice that when I go a little while without it, I sort of start to regress in my skill and my ability of being in front of the camera. Anyway, let's move on. So most of these were $1 or $2. So this is a Cold War nuclear apocalypse thriller, Trinity's Child, and who knows? This could be really good, really bad. Apparently, it's about a lone B-52, and the fate of the world depends upon this one airplane. Don't know what that's about. Maybe like a Doctor Strangelove or what's that? I read Failsafe a couple of months ago, and hopefully it won't be just a like a redo of that, but with a romance or something. A lot of books are just a redo of Failsafe with a romance. Anyway, the next is I like this one. I got this one partially for the cover, sort of. I mean, it was the cover that drew me in. It was also $1, and it only kind of bothered me because I have several books by Helen McInnes, and this is the double image. I have several books that she's written, and I haven't read any of them. I know I have the Salzburg Connection, and I have oh, what's the other one called? It's like a black cover, and there's a guy running away, and I don't remember. She wrote a lot of books, so this is one of those books that doesn't actually tell you what it's about, but it looks interesting. Uh, so the next is 10 Days That Shook the World by John Reed. This is an eyewitness account by an American journalist of the Russian Revolution in 1917, which I know next to nothing about the Russian Revolution. I mean, just the very basic facts of it. Uh, so I was just reading in this, and apparently uh, John Reed. We'll just read the. It says John Reed was born in Portland, Oregon, in 1887, and died in Moscow in 1920. A journalist and a poet, he worked on American Magazine and The Masses. He helped found the American Communist Labor Party, of which he became the head. He fled the U.S. while under indictment for sedition and made his way to Russia, where he became active as a speaker in Moscow. As far as is known, John Reed is the only American ever to have been buried in the Kremlin. So I'm kind of wondering how biased would his account be? You know, like I'd like to look up uh, like some criticism of this book and see maybe where like if he was biased, if you know people have talked about that, that would be really interesting because it's hard to believe that a communist wouldn't have been biased towards the revolution and towards one faction or the other. So, but I really know nothing about this. I just there was at the local half price books that I go to very often, the one closest to my house, somebody had just sold like a ton of mass market nonfiction paperbacks, and like so many of them that they took shelves that they have been using for uh, fiction mass markets and added two complete bookcases and took away a whole bunch of the fiction. And it was kind of interesting to walk in there. The next is a book that I heard Alan from Alan's Reads talk about. It is Nevada Barr's Firestorm, and he made this sound really, really interesting. and I've been looking for a copy of it, but I can only find them for like $6 or $7. And I have so many books like this that I couldn't pay that. But this was $2, so I went ahead and got it. And apparently it is about a park ranger, and she solves crimes, and there's like a big fire, and uh, apparently like the smoke jumpers, they have these things they get under, and apparently this fire passes by, and a couple of them are dead when the fire goes by, but it's murder. It's not from the fire. At least that's what I remember Alan talking about. It sounded really intriguing. I had just tried to read, oh goodness, what was the name of that? Was it Young Men in Fire by the guy who wrote A River Runs Through It? Or is that even the name of it? I don't remember. But anyway, we got to talking about this book somehow. I don't remember how. It's been a little while. The next is The True Believer by Eric Hoffer. This is another book from that big nonfiction mass market sale. And I have never read this somehow, which is, it's because I've never come across a copy of it for $1 before. So it's really short. Next is The Letters of E.B. White. I really, really like E.B. White's writing. I like his essays quite a lot. And there's no way I'm going to read this thing. You can see it has foxing really bad, but foxing is harmless. I think a lot of people see foxing and they think mold. It's not mold. It's like I can't remember what it is exactly. It's got something to do with the paper, like the acid in the paper or something. But anyway, like I said, there's no way I'm going to read this thing from cover to cover, but it'll be really nice to dip in every now and then. And E.B. White had a really distinctive writing style, and it did carry over into his letters. The next is John Krakauer's Into Thin Air. And I recently read a collection of his articles called Classic Krakauer. Really, really good. That book had one serious flaw, which is that it was way too short. And I wanted more at the end of it, and I wanted to read Into Thin Air again. I read this years ago. I'll be really interested to read this again, where I have more experience in the real world. I was much younger when I read it the first time, so this is a true account of a deadly day on Mount Everest. John Krakauer was there. A big storm blew in. Several people froze to death, and John Krakauer almost died. But anyway, I also found Into the Wild, but I didn't buy it, and the reason is that I have complicated feelings about Christopher McCandless. On one hand, that's the guy. He was a young guy. He just went off into the wild of Alaska, and he wound up injuring himself, if I remember right, and he starved to death. And he has a really interesting story because he just went all over the place and did all kinds of things. But and I don't know, I guess maybe it came from when he was younger or something. He maybe developed some kind of problem with authority or something. But there were people telling him, like, don't go in there dressed like that. Please don't try to live off the land. It's the wrong time of year. Please take these boots. Please take this coat. And he was like, nah, I'm good. I know better than you. And so I have, like I said, complicated feelings about that. And I don't particularly want to read Into the Wild again, but I really want to read Into Thin Air again. And Krakauer has several other books I'd like to read also. I just haven't found them. And the next book is The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. I'm not wild about this cover really, but it's kind of growing on me. It's different. This is a Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. I've never read The Three Musketeers. I read The Count of Monte Cristo several years ago. And there's Alexander Dumas. And I've seen the movie version of The Three Musketeers a long time ago, but I've been wanting to read this. I've just never found an edition like this. I'm always finding the abridged edition, but I wanted the complete edition. So this will do. and it was only $1 something. And I may read it the way that I read The Count of Monte Cristo, which is that I read a chapter a day every day until I was finished with it, except towards the end, which I read the complete unabridged Count of Monte Cristo, the big Penguin edition, and I did that for quite a while, a couple of months, I think, and then towards the end, I just really wanted to get through it, and so I read the last like 25 chapters in 2 days or something like that. But I really did enjoy it. I felt like uh, there were some chapters that really weren't necessary. I don't think some paycheck chapters, and that's okay. It was good. I don't regret reading it at all. I enjoyed it. It didn't go the way that I thought it would because I'd been conditioned by movies and spoofs and that sort of thing. And uh, I'll be interested to read The Three Musketeers. That's what I'm trying to say. The next is Consider Phlebas by Ian M. Banks. I think I said that right. I'm not really sure. Uh, I haven't read very much science fiction since I started this channel. I've noticed that. And I have a bunch of it. Not heaps of it or anything, but I have a lot. I have Philip K. Dick. I have Clifford Simak, Heinlein. I could probably go on and on. Uh, Poul Anderson, A.E. Van Vogt. And I don't know why I stopped reading science fiction. I think I have an idea of it, which is that I read a couple of books about, let's see, probably in 2000, I'm forgetting what year this is, 2024 into like 2025, right in there, and I probably read I read quite a bit of science fiction there for a little while, and I think I just had enough of it, and some of them were written really poorly, uh, because I was just reading books that I found by, authors you've never heard of, and it was an interesting experience, but it was also taxing. And I think that, I've said this before, but horror, I like to read horror because you are taking the real world and putting in something that is incredible and doesn't belong in, it doesn't exist in reality. You're putting it into reality and seeing how people in the real world would react to it. Whereas science fiction, you take a completely fictional, or well, a completely different world, a fictionalized world, uh, and then you inject even more strangeness into it. And I think it's hard for me personally to make that kind of to accept everything that's going on as it is, and then to uh, increase that, to embellish upon that. It's just hard for me to keep up sometimes. But I have watched several books. Apparently, this is the Culture series. Yeah, the Culture series. And I know that I've watched videos about books in the Culture series. I know that Quinn from Quinn's Ideas, a tremendous channel, amazing channel, has made videos about the Culture series. So I probably have watched videos about this. Uh, I don't know when I will get around to that. I'm still kind of on every now and then I pick up some of the science fiction around here and I go, well, and it's like, oh, it is, some of it is really good and it makes you think. A lot of older science fiction is mainly about the ideas, and the characters and everything like that are really secondary to the ideas. Sometimes that can be difficult because, you have really bad dialogue, you have cardboard characters and all of that. Uh, and then you have later science fiction where there's a great deal of unnecessary bloat. But apparently that is from 1987. I'm rambling. Um, this last one is a replacement for a book that I already have. So this is 1915 by Lynn McDonald, and I have several of her books. I haven't read this one, and I don't. What do I have? I have some, and I have 1915. So my copy of 1915 is the big blue one, the big blue a mass market paperback, and it is just falling apart. Like you can open it and it feels like it's just going to rip in half. And so I've always been too afraid to actually read it. And so this is just a replacement for that. And this is a like a history of 1915, World War One. It goes back and includes letters from soldiers, but she also interviewed many soldiers. This is from okay, so 1993. There would have still been quite a few soldiers of the Great War around then, and she'd been writing books for quite a long time. Some of them, I think, the Psalm came out in the 70s. She wrote the Roses of No Man's Land. I know that came out in the 70s, and they called it Passchendaele. So that is my book haul. And oh yeah, I was going to show you one more thing. So I have this pipe wrench here. I got this a while back. I showed this on camera. The other day I went looking for books and I found this. So like, it's not the same company. This is an 18-inch. This is a, what is this, a 14? This one is much heavier and it has a different spring. But anyway, apparently I am acquiring a weird collection of 90-year-old pipe wrenches. So anyway, that is my book haul. Let me see if I can do a pyramid here. It's a little bit different here. I've got myself over here in this corner, and I don't have a little table in front of me because there's just not room. In fact, my knees are jammed into this coffee table, so it's a little bit frustrating and the lighting is bad, but here we go. That is the book haul for today. Looks like the True Believer is about to fall out of there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.